Welcome back, guys, to another Minecraft video with Risky. And today, what we're doing is, well, as soon as I regain some health, because kind of didn't plan that one out well, good at all. But today we're going to be doing a fairly quick little expedition, kind of touring what we used to have, what we did have, what we do have, and everything like that. So, for those of you who are just now joining into this series, we're like 13 or 14 episodes. I can't remember. I stopped counting. To be honest, I mostly just, yeah, don't worry about how I get the right numbers. But we started out with the on the server where we tore down the giant hill that was here with houses and stuff above it. And we built up our own little house with houses that look phenomenal, and now they kind of look run down and beat up and just trashed, except for Bobby's. Bobby's was actually repaired in one of the previous episodes, and I think it looks still really good, except for that particular block there. But since then, we have thus picked up and started moving, or getting to the point where we can move from the overworld to the Nether, because obviously in 1.13, which is the update after this one, because we're in 1.12.2, the overworld generation is gonna kind of ruin everything, and so we have like very little farms in the overworld just to like get by. We have what used to be a sugarcane farm. It kind of was like out producing what we could ever use, so we stopped it and everything. And then there's the chicken farm, which to get away from entity cramming, you throw in a ladder and bada bing bada boom. You don't have entity cramming that produce cooked chicken and feathers, along with some eggs. It just depends on the mood it is in. The next thing we did was we moved to the Nether, which we'll get to that part later. We built a iron farm, which is this giant water pool here, which produces quite a bit of iron. I have actually so much that I probably don't need to check it right now, but obviously there's a lot more iron in here. It also produces poppies, so that's something to be grateful for. And then there's also the mob farm up there, which, if I can learn how to fly. What is this? Penguins flying? What? So you guys can see it's the same build I built in my SMP, or my SSP, not my SMP. Prior, that is, it's just the same style. It gives you spawning platforms, water channels that drop them down into a thing. It's just not based on 3, it's based on 2, because I didn't want to base it on 3. That leads into some of those, so nothing spawns down here except for the iron golems, which is still in not render distance, chunk loading distance, so that they still spawn down there, but nothing else does. And then this is the Nether. We have our shanty over the first original portal, and then we have the giant hole that turned out to be not something I wanted to do anymore, so I dug out a giant hole for nothing. Then there's the house. This started out with actually almost exactly the same way it is now, minus like some minor details. This was going to be is going to be the kitchen, not was. Is going to be the kitchen. There's already a bunch of food, like a lot of food. Like a penguin would love to live here. Cooked fish out the wazoo. And then going up the stairs, we have a sort of storage system. I have plans for this floor. In the future, we have a dye thing, which in the previous episode I explained, but since this is for all of you new people, don't worry, I'm going to explain it. You flip the lever and it produces that tall flower using bone meal. Bone meal on tall flowers like those 4, because those are the only 4 that you can do it with, produces the flower itself, allowing you to mass produce flowers. The next floor is the super smelter. I moved this from the overworld to the Nether, down at the bottom of the pit, and then I moved it up here. This one is finished. It works with shulker boxes. These are currently empty. It works with shulker boxes. You place them down on the hopper, and they feed into the system, And I'm gonna pull out the axe so I can ask him a question. Haha, get it? Works with a hopper or minecart rails with hoppers and these feed into item elevators. That's the word I was looking for. I can't think. So that's what these are for. I'm gonna go into game mode 3 just to give you guys a better look at what that is. So the observer and redstone is to create a clock that fires off the dropper as long as there's items in there, and if there's items in there, they'll feed up to this point here, which feeds into this hopper, which feeds this comparator, which feeds which turns off the signal to the minecart rail, which stops the minecart rail underneath the hopper. Same thing on the other side, almost exactly the same design, feeds into a dropper that drops up upward into the hoppers. The hoppers feed into the minecart, and that's how we get them to feed. And then the minecarts run across hoppers, which feed into the furnaces. I'm doing the same thing on the other side in the next episode, so if you guys want to see how I did it, I won't show you this side because I've already done this side. I kind of got ahead of myself, but it's the same thing, just opposite side. The item elevator goes up higher, and I'll explain more in detail in the next episode, so stay tuned for that. If you guys are excited, smash the like button. Get it? Because YouTube. The next floors are completely empty. I haven't done anything with them. And this is the last floor before we reach above bedrock. In a prior episode, I showed you guys how to break bedrock with dragon eggs, and thus making an opening in which I built something really cool. After I did that, I built a little path to a grass plot so that I can grow trees in the Nether. That way I don't have to. Could take off, so that way I don't have to go to the overworld. It kind of busted up over there, so don't pay attention to that. And then the pièce de résistance, the thing we did in the previous episode, the gold farm. The gold farm is based on a few mechanics through the pigmen spawning and the aggro system. So it produces, I believe the farm that I built is supposed to produce 150,000 XP per hour, which is why I have 155 levels. It's also why I have 396 deaths, so don't worry about that. The way this kills the pigmen is due to what I touched on earlier, entity cramming. Entity cramming is when you get too many entities in one spot, in a one block area. It'll actually cause damage to things that take damage. Minecarts don't take damage, so I can stack up as many of them as I want to kill the pigmen as fast as I need to. So I'll demonstrate that now, which is going to skew the 1 hour time that I spent, but don't worry, it's not that big of a deal. If I can hit you. So it aggroes all of them, and because of the aggroing of all of them, as they die, I will gain XP, and I thought I saw a ghast for a second. I was like, oh my gosh. So I'll gain XP and all of their drops, their swords. I'm supposed to hold like my looting sword because that will help with, but they get fed down into these hoppers here and fed into this system that is supposed to cycle all the way through, and they'll fill up the center first and move counterclockwise from each side. So this corner will be is like one segment, and then this corner is the next segment, and the next corner, and so on and so forth. I have hoppers, or not hoppers, these for furnaces for cooking down the swords into nuggets. So far, from that 1 hour that I did prior to after finishing the farm. I have this many gold. I have 2 stacks of gold blocks, almost a stack of bars, and almost a stack of nuggets. So that's all of pretty much everything from the Nether. We've done some exploring. There's not really a whole lot to behold, so it's not too much of a necessity to touch on anything else in the Nether, because there's not really anything. There actually isn't anything else in the Nether that I've built, or actually there's one other thing, but that's actually what we're doing next, which is the path to the end dimension. I connected portals so that that we could fly to or go to the Nether without having too much of an issue. The time to travel it is now like less than half, far less than half, now that I have an elytra to fly with rockets. Ample amount of rockets, by the way. There's a lot of rockets. And then take this path all the way down here, and so on and so forth. I know I got to do some beautification of the tunnel and make it an actual tunnel, and increase the amount, or decrease the amount of like fire everywhere and damage you take on the way there. Which I'm thinking of doing an elytra tunnel so that we actually fly here instead of just walking through a tunnel. And then this takes you to here, which is the cave in which I had an issue getting through to get to the end dragon. That takes you up to the surface, and then the rest of the way is this way, which takes you to the end portal, and the end portal takes you to the end. Obviously, I know, right? Like, come on. And then we will see the last project that we've done so far, which is the Ender or Enderman spawn trap thing. It's kind of complicated. It's called the Ender. It's meant to allow you to kill Enderman as fast as possible and with little to no effort. You could literally just stand here and collect Ender Pearls non-stop, like I have quite a few. And then there's obviously chests upon chests, so I don't really need this for anything other than the levels, which you get from just hitting all of them. There's no need for that shenanigans. I mean, those shenanigans, sorry. Not trying to be English illiterate. And then the last thing we did was we built up a stairway to the portal to get teleported to where all of the end cities and stuff are. So, and that's how we got the elytras and the shulker boxes and everything like that. I'm sorry that this video is actually quite short. I kind of wanted to do a quick tour of everything. There's one last final thing that I'll touch on in this video, which is what happened with the area around the village where we started. Because obviously I've touched on it before. I said that the spawn chunk, or the chunks, got messed up. Well, obviously they got messed up pretty bad, because there's an ice spikes biome now where we used to spawn like literally right over here, like about this far away from the village, and it took us like almost an hour to find the village, which is funny because we tried all the wrong spots. But there's now an ice spikes biome with a huge like chunk render issue, or whatever what have you with the issues, and that's just going to be a good way for us to get packed ice. There's nothing really too fancy about like that. I didn't really want to take advantage of that, but there's not really anything I can do about that. It's just something that happened when moving the map over from personal to the other server to the personal server to all sorts of different issues, and it kind of just ended up being what it is now. So this used to be the okay, I lied on the last couple of things. There's more that I just didn't touch on. This used to be the super smelter, and then there's the fishing farm, which I put a poll in a previous video and didn't really get anybody to respond. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that again on this one. So if you guys want to see how I do some of the redstone stuff that I do, like this one, which sorts out swords, or not swords, all of the stuff into 2 different sections, into stackable and non-stackable. So we have the non-stackable here and the stackable items on one side, and so on and so forth, with a lever to just to get rid of the ones that we don't want, and so on and so forth, with the ability to, with this room, to adjust timings for servers and stuff like that. So you can, because this is server friendly, you can do this on like a normal like Minecraft SMP server, and it allows you to do some pretty cool stuff and get enchantment books, which is actually what I didn't show down here. I have a metric ton of them, like legitimately. Like I have chests upon chests of enchantment books, and they give you almost any enchantment. So there's that too. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know it was kind of dumb for me to just go through and show off the thing, but I figured there's probably some new faces who haven't seen this stuff and didn't get caught up with all of the build progress and what we decided to do and so on and so forth. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please do remember to smash the like button if you did, and if you didn't, well, hit the like button anyway, and leave a comment saying that you actually didn't like it, and tell me what I did wrong, and I will try and fix it for the next one. But until the next time, guys, do remember to stay risky.